I've been thinking about this question for a long time. Thank you for choosing me, and I love you and love everyone here. And my question has to do with forgiveness. Some of the great sages, I'm just going to quote a few of them. It said, St. Francis of Assisi said, excuse me.
All right. When you dig stuff up from a long time ago, it takes a while to find it.
Love you. Okay. It is in forgiving that we are forgiven. St. Francis said that. In Luke, Jesus said, forgive.
It is in forgiving that we are forgiven. So as you move through these, would you like our current software update?
Yeah. Well, let me ask my question. Hold on.
It's all right. We like the way it was going.
Okay. It won't take long. I just want to say
it's all right. This is an important conversation. So, read it again.
Well, I want to say what Jesus said. He said, forgive.
Go back to St.
Francis of Assisi.
Yeah.
He said, it is in forgiving that we are forgiven.
All right. So here's the way we would express that to you in the verbiage that you've been hearing from us. Just relax and stay with us right here.
Okay.
So, your inner being is always offering you a vibration of adoration. Your inner being only sees you as worthy. Your inner being never offers a vibration of blame or fault finding to you. So when you match that vibration, then and only then do you receive if you want to call it forgiveness, we'd rather call it love, that is always being offered to you. So it's not that you had to do it in order for Source to then do it back. Source is always doing it, and when you do it, you match it and recognize it.
Yeah.
That makes sense to you?
Yeah. I had a long journey.
We often have said, we are going to hear you out, but you're going to really like this unfolding. We often have said that we have never forgiven.
There's nothing to forgive. It's
because
just
we have never blamed to begin with.
You're totally unconditional love and light. I know that.
So how do you go back and undo something that you never doed?
Well, I just want to unshackle myself from this past and move forward and let my cork float.
So what did Jesus say?
He said, forgive and you shall be forgiven. Even Buddha said to understand everything.
Actually, what Jesus said was, forgive and you will match the vibration that is always being offered to you. But translators often can't hear it in the clear, precise way that it is being offered. If you are coming from a premise that you have done wrong, then that's the only way that you're going to be able to translate that. But you all have moved past that, haven't you? Forgiveness feels good because it's letting go of the cork and letting it float. That's the best updated description or definition of forgiveness that we could give you. In condemning, you've got the cork under the water. In letting go of your issue with someone, your cork floats and you're back into your natural vibration in sync with your source. And you call it forgiveness. We call it letting go of the cork.
Yeah, I understand that metaphor is perfect.
Yeah.
It's just to trust that again for me is where I am.
Well, test it. Condemn yourself and feel your inner being unavailable to you. Then love yourself and feel your inner being right there, meeting you with your own loving thoughts about yourself. There's no way you can misunderstand it. Test it. Love yourself or love others and feel the harmony of that. Or condemn and find fault and blame and feel the discord in that. And then choose the one you like the most.
I hear that. It's just choosing that vibration and focusing with that onto that.
Like our friend just now, you can't get there all at once. It's a muscle you have to practice. If you've been practicing being mad at yourself or somebody else, then those are the thoughts that law of attraction is dishing up for you most often. But if whenever it happens, you make a soft other choice, you choose something that feels a little better and something that feels a little better, gradually your inclination will be in that higher, less resistant stance. And so what you notice, and we know you already have, is that there's further space between your bouts of disconnection, and they don't last as long. And it's easier and easier for you to get to that good feeling place, and easier and easier for you to hold it for longer periods of time. So everything's unfolding well for you, yes?
I'm getting there, yeah. I was just in this place where I was running, looking for my source.
Yeah, well, so many people don't find their source because they're listening to so many people who would like you to believe that they are your source, so they pronounce you inappropriate because you're not pleasing them in some way. And then they say to you something that when you're younger is easier to hear, as you get older it makes less and less sense. But they say something to you that translates, as far as we are concerned, into these exact sentiments. Do not please yourself. Do these things that please me, because you do not want to be selfish. But what they're saying is, you do not want to be selfish. You must not be selfish. You must please me, who would never be selfish. You must please me. Well, your source is saying, here we are, loving you. Join us if you like. Join us if you like. It's natural to you. No condemnation if you don't, because if your inner being could condemn you from not joining them in high-flying vibration, then they'd be right there with you. The very fact that negative emotion can exist is your proof that there is a higher vibration. Because if your inner being would join you in your discordant thought, then there would be no separation between you and your inner being. Therefore, there would be no emotion. The very negative emotion that you feel is the evidence of the love that Source has for you. And some days you say, Source must love me a lot. A lot. Because there is a big difference between how they must feel and how I'm feeling, because it's gut-wrenching.
I felt those states, those higher vibrational states.
Yes.
And I know that I'm source streaming through.
Yeah.
And
often.
And it's just my heart is reluctant to let it in.
Well, let's say that differently. Your heart is not reluctant, but we understand what you mean. A more accurate way of saying it is, I've just practiced not liking myself more than I've practiced liking myself. I've taken the perspective of others who have held me as their object of attention when they've not been in alignment. And I've let that be sort of my touchstone for setting my own vibrational frequency. You can't watch CNN or any of them. We shouldn't pick on CNN, but CNN. You can't watch any of those all-day news channels who are desperate to find something to catch your attention without coming to the understanding that they believe that your greatest proclivity is to bad news, not good news, because they're going for ratings. And so their statistics have shown them that more people are calibrated to vibrations of fear and vulnerability and anger than are calibrated to joy,
higher levels of
and love.
Yeah.
And
joy,
so you just can't watch that, or most of the advertisements
It's
too,
just poison, really. It's just
without practicing vibrations that are different from what your inner being feels. Now, your inner being, in its absolute compassionate state of being, can look at anything that is happening on your planet and not lose vibrational integrity with Source. But it's only because the detail is less. In other words, you are the ones in the trenches out here. You're the ones out here on the leading edge. You're the ones defining more of the contrast. You're the ones with the hardest job, really, because you are the ones who are witnessing close up and personal details of life that sometimes cause you to not feel all that high flying. But that contrast in and of itself activates a desire to feel better. So the work that we want to do with you and others who are feeling like you are feeling is we want to find a way of tapping into your willingness to at least understand that it is good for you to feel good. That you feeling good is good. That you feeling good is good. And once you've decided that you want to feel good and that it is right that you do feel good, then you can start finding a little better feeling thought and a little better feeling thought and a little better feeling thought until you'll be so stable in your connection that you will be able to be out in the world and sift through contrast, but it will no longer take you to your knees, and it will not take you to self-condemnation. It will just be something that you are choosing from, much in the same way that you go to a buffet and choose what you really want to eat. You don't go to the buffet and feel concern about some of the food that's out there. Oh my God, look what they've put out there. Things I would never eat. I need to join with others. And so you start talking to people in the food line. Hey, how do you feel about those things? How do you feel about those things? Don't you think we should sign this? Sign this with me. We've got to get that out of there. That could spread, you know. That could spread. And the thing is, they won't put it on the food line if people aren't choosing it. And it's sort of like that with everything. If people aren't choosing it, it won't continue to be in your environment. But you don't ever have to sort it all out. Just personally discern what your preferences are and give your attention to that and watch how all that is, that what you want to call God, that source energy, your inner being, will line up in assisting you in maintaining more and more of that clarity.
Maintaining that alignment.
Or not maintaining it, but understanding that you can.
I really love everything you say, and
it makes perfect sense to you when you hear it.
It makes perfect sense, but there's this part of me that is just beginning to trust, there's a shift happening in me, and I wouldn't even be on this stage. I've been here a couple of times, and I've journeyed through some stuff, and it's taken me a long time to get to this place. So
there's this part of me, this changing part of me, that is more sensitive to my emotional guidance system. So I am making more consistent choices. That's the way we would word it if we were standing in your physical shoes. I'm getting better and better at this. But. And we say that with emphasis because we want you to enjoy your but. I can't hold it there all the time. There are always new things that sort of shake me a little bit, but I'm getting better and better and better at knowing the difference. My guidance system is awake now, and I understand what it means. When you feel negative emotion, it's not because your inner being is not proud of you. It's because you're not in the vibrational vicinity of the pride your inner being has for you. That's all. But with your parents or people around you, teachers or even peers that may not be understanding all of this, when they disapprove of you, they sort of go after you in an attitude of you should change, and then my opinion of you would change. And so that's why it's hard to trust your inner being, because most people aren't like that. If you've got a dog, that dog will teach you what your inner being knows.
yeah, they're always tapped in, tuned in, turned on. I mean,
Always
I know
loving
that.
you.
Yeah,
Always loving you. Always quick to go right there.
yeah. I just got confused, about who to trust in my field of awareness, and had to find my address to me, to my alignment. But
We think you've got that sorted out. Now just enjoy what you know and don't suffer when you deviate from it. It's all right, which is what our friend was talking about in the first segment. Did you want to talk more specifically about things you've overcome, or are you willing to just start from where you are and move forward? Doesn't feel so necessary to talk about
Well, part of it was for me to even get up on this stage, to be vulnerable, to open my heart
There's
to you and to everyone here.
There's no vulnerability in this room.
Yeah, it's just all in my head, but yeah, I know it's all in my head.
And in the same way, there's no vulnerability because of us. There's no vulnerability because of them. And there's really no vulnerability out in the world either. But it takes a little while for you to come to know that. It's not easy to accept the predominant, powerful point of view of source energy.